calm before the storm. The Galactic Assembly had never been so quiet. For centuries, representatives from thousands of species had gathered in the enormous orbiting station above the star Zereth. The hall stretched for miles, its walls glowing softly with alien symbols. Delegates sat in rows that seemed endless, their shapes and forms unlike anything seen on Earth. Some had dozens of limbs, others shimmered with colors that changed with every movement. But in the center of it all sat a small group that the galaxy still underestimated: humans. Humans had only recently joined the assembly. Other species often dismissed them as young, reckless, and inexperienced. Yet there was a calm confidence about them that no one could ignore. Their leader, Adrian Kane, a man of medium build with a piercing gaze, observed the room quietly. His posture was relaxed, but there was a subtle tension in his eyes, as if he already knew the storm that was coming. The debate that day was over the discovery of a rare energy source on a planet at the edge of the galaxy. Many species wanted to claim control over it, arguing that it was too powerful to be shared freely. The humans listened. They did not interrupt. They did not fidget. They waited. The aliens spoke loudly and aggressively. Their voices echoed through the hall, filled with threats and accusations. "Humans have no right to interfere," one of the reptilian delegates hissed, his eyes narrowing. "They do not understand the balance of power." Adrian's hands rested calmly on the table. He did not flinch. When it was his turn to speak, he stood slowly and the room fell into silence. There was something magnetic about him. Even the oldest and most powerful species turned to watch. "We do not seek to dominate," Adrian said, his voice steady. "We only seek to explore, to learn, and to share knowledge. No species should control this resource alone. Cooperation is the only path forward." Murmurs spread through the hall. Some delegates whispered that this was reckless. Others said it was brave. Humans had challenged the norms, something that even the wisest species rarely dared. Adrian's words were not just a statement, they were a challenge to centuries of tradition. The debate grew heated. Alien leaders demanded concessions, insisting that the humans agree to strict controls. "You are young, inexperienced, and impulsive," the insectoid representative shouted. "You cannot possibly understand the consequences." Adrian shook his head slowly. "No," he said simply. "We will not accept limits imposed by fear. The galaxy is too vast, too rich, to be ruled by suspicion and control. Humanity believes in freedom, in courage, in progress. If you cannot understand that, then we will not stay silent." The room fell silent. Cameras and observation devices recorded every word. For the first time, the galaxy saw humans as something more than a small, insignificant species. They were bold, unyielding, and fearless. Then Adrian did something no one expected. He gestured to his team. "We are leaving," he said. The humans rose calmly from their seats. One by one they walked toward the exit, their steps measured and confident. A wave of shock swept through the assembly hall. Many species could not believe their eyes. Humans, the ones they had underestimated for centuries, were walking out of the council chamber. Without anger, without shouting, without any sign of fear. They were making a statement stronger than any argument could. Some delegates whispered, horrified. "They cannot do this. It is disrespectful," one said. Others watched in awe, silently admiring the audacity of a young species standing against centuries of tradition. Cameras transmitted the scene across the galaxy, and everywhere eyes widened in disbelief. Outside the chamber, the humans boarded their sleek, silver ship. Adrian paused for a moment, looking back at the assembly hall. The faces of the delegates, frozen in shock and confusion, were etched into his memory. He felt no fear, only clarity. Humanity had made its mark. They had shown that courage and intelligence were not bound by age, size, or history. As the ship drifted away from the station, stars stretched across the viewport like rivers of light. The humans were silent. They did not celebrate. They knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy had taken notice and there would be consequences. Yet they were ready. They had chosen their path and they would walk it with determination. In the following days, news of the human walkout spread like wildfire. Analysts, historians, and diplomats debated endlessly. Some called it reckless, a threat to galactic order. Others called it visionary, proof that a species could rise above fear and tradition. Everywhere humans were being watched differently. They were no longer underestimated. Back on their ship, Adrian convened his team. "The galaxy fears change," he said. "And yet it cannot ignore it. We have started something important today. We must continue with wisdom, courage, and unity." The humans prepared for their next steps. Exploration, diplomacy, and alliances would follow, but the assembly walkout remained the symbol of their arrival. It was a bold statement. Humanity would not bend, would not bow, and would not be controlled. They were small in number, but the fire within them was immense. The galaxy, watching from countless worlds and orbiting stations, began to understand that the calm before the storm was not empty. It was deliberate. It was a warning and a promise. Humans had arrived, not quietly but with clarity, courage, and defiance. And somewhere in the stars, where civilizations both old and young waited to see what would happen next, the galaxy knew one thing for certain. The age of humans had begun. Rising tensions. The humans' bold walkout from the Galactic Assembly became the talk of the galaxy. Every world with even a single communications network knew about it. Some species whispered of recklessness, others admired the courage. But for Adrian Kane and his crew, there was no time to celebrate. The storm they had stirred was only beginning. Inside their sleek silver ship, the Horizon, humans moved with calm efficiency. The ship's interior hummed softly, lights reflecting off polished metal walls. Each human had a role, each task precise, yet there was an unmistakable sense of purpose. Adrian walked slowly to the observation deck, staring out at the stars. Thousands of stars, countless planets, and endless possibilities awaited them. But he knew that some species would not forgive the assembly walkout. "Sir," said Lyra Chin, the ship's communications officer, her fingers dancing across her console. "We've received responses from several major powers. They're upset. Some are calling for sanctions against humans. Others are just trying to understand what we are doing." Adrian nodded. "Good. Let them be upset. Let them talk. They've underestimated us for too long. Now they will see we are serious." Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the leaders of powerful species convened secret meetings. The Reptilian Council, furious at what they called human insolence, argued fiercely. "They cannot be allowed to disrupt the assembly," hissed their leader, Zareth the Cold-Eyed. "They are dangerous and untested. We must act quickly." The insectoid representatives buzzed angrily. "They defy every rule. If one small species can challenge centuries of law, what prevents others from doing the same?" Yet not every species opposed humans. A few, curious and cautious, began to see potential. The luminous beings from Vetra debated quietly. "Perhaps this is the beginning of a new order," one said. "We should watch them closely. There is intelligence and courage in this species." Back on the horizon, Adrian gathered his team in the briefing room. The walls were lined with holographic maps showing planets, trade routes, and political territories. "The assembly has not forgotten us," Adrian began. "Some will see our actions as disrespect. Others will see them as a threat. Our job is simple: be ready, be wise, and prove that humanity belongs in the galaxy, not as followers but as equals." Lyra looked up from her console. "Sir, sensors indicate several warships heading toward us. Not in attack formation yet, but they're moving fast. Possibly intimidation." Adrian's gaze was steady. "Good. Let them come. Let them see we do not fear them. Prepare the defensive protocols but stay calm. We will not strike first unless necessary. Intelligence, not aggression, will be our strength." The crew moved like a well-oiled machine. Ship systems came online, shields hummed, and weapons powered silently. Humans had not been trained to fight like other species. They had been trained to think, to anticipate, and to adapt. And in the quiet tension of space, that difference became their greatest advantage. As the approaching fleet drew closer, alien communications crackled across the horizon. Threats, warnings, demands to return to the assembly immediately. Adrian's response was calm and deliberate. "We will return when the galaxy respects cooperation over control. Until then, we chart our own course." The alien fleet hesitated. The humans' audacity, combined with their calm and precise behavior, confused them. How could such a young species act with such clarity in the face of threat? Some officers whispered among themselves. "They are fearless, perhaps foolishly so." Others muttered, "Perhaps we have underestimated them entirely." Days passed in tense quiet. Humans explored nearby systems, mapping planets and scanning for signs of other civilizations. Every movement was deliberate, every action careful. While the galaxy argued over their audacity, humans quietly demonstrated what they could achieve when free from fear and bureaucracy. Meanwhile, at the assembly, debates raged. Alien leaders argued over the human problem. Some called for military action, others suggested diplomacy. "They are too unpredictable," one elder said. "We cannot control them." And yet they are not overtly hostile. What are they planning? Unseen, Adrian Kane's team continued their work. They met with isolated civilizations that had long been ignored by the Assembly, offering aid, sharing knowledge, and learning in return. Humanity's reputation began to grow, not through power but through ingenuity and courage. And then came the message from a distant world. A small, independent species, long oppressed by the Assembly's larger powers, had invited humans to visit. Their message was simple: we have watched you. We trust you. We hope you will help us. Adrian smiled faintly. This is exactly why we act as we do, he said. Not to dominate, not to defy for the sake of defiance, but to show that courage, fairness, and intelligence can change the galaxy. The Assembly fears us because we are free. They fear what they do not control. The tension was building, but humanity moved forward with quiet confidence. The galaxy watched, debated, feared, and admired, all at the same time. The calm before the storm was not empty. It was deliberate, strategic, and powerful. Adrian walked to the observation deck once again. Stars stretched infinitely before him. We are small, he said softly, almost to himself, but our spirit, our courage, cannot be contained. Let them watch. Let them doubt. We have only just begun. The crew, inspired by their leader's resolve, prepared for the challenges ahead. Unknown dangers awaited them. Political confrontations, threats, and the vast unknown of space loomed like shadows. Yet in every human heart aboard the horizon, there was one certainty: they would face it together, with courage and intellect as their weapons. The galaxy might have underestimated humans before. But now, after the walkout and the rising tensions, everyone was beginning to realize one thing: the young species was not just surviving, it was shaping the future. And somewhere, far in the assembly halls of ancient civilizations, a single thought echoed among leaders: if humanity continues this way, the galaxy will never be the same. The bold statement. The galaxy held its breath. News of humanity's walkout from the Galactic Assembly spread faster than any fleet or message could travel. Scholars debated, diplomats whispered, and every species speculated. What would the humans do next? But on the horizon, Adrian Kane and his crew focused not on rumors but on action. The ship drifted silently through the Orion expanse, a region of stars both beautiful and treacherous. The humans had charts, scans, and knowledge of alien civilizations, but above all they had courage. They had learned in centuries of struggle on Earth that strength alone was not enough. Intelligence, adaptability, and boldness mattered more. Adrian convened the crew in the strategy room. Holograms of neighboring systems floated above the table, planets blinking softly. The galaxy fears us because we act differently, Adrian began. They have centuries of tradition and fear of the unknown. We are young but we are fearless. And now it is time to make our stance clear. Lyra Chin, ever sharp and observant, raised a question. Sir, some of these civilizations have powerful fleets. If we make a bold statement, we risk provoking conflict. Adrian smiled faintly. Boldness is not recklessness. We are not here to fight. We are here to demonstrate our values. Intelligence, courage, and fairness, these are our weapons. Let the galaxy understand that humanity acts not out of fear but principle. The humans set a course toward Vetra Prime, a neutral planet where the Galactic Assembly occasionally held emergency discussions. Adrian wanted to make a statement visible to the galaxy. A display of resolve, not aggression. As they approached Vetra Prime, the skies above the planet were already filled with observers, alien warships, scouts, and media satellites from dozens of species. They were watching the humans closely, waiting to see if this reckless species would make a mistake. Adrian stood on the observation deck, watching the approaching fleets. Remember, he told the crew, we are here to communicate our principles. We will not bow. We will not attack. We will act as equals and we will be heard. When the Horizon landed on the planet's massive floating platform, thousands of delegates from various species had gathered. Holographic screens streamed the event across the galaxy. For the first time, humans were not just participants, they were the center of attention. Adrian stepped forward, flanked by his crew. His presence alone drew silence. The alien delegates looked on, many skeptical, some angry, others intrigued. He raised his hand not in threat but in greeting. Leaders of the galaxy, Adrian began, his voice steady and commanding, humans are a young species. We are still learning, still growing. Yet, we are not here to follow traditions that serve only the powerful. We are here to act with courage, intelligence, and fairness. We are here to show that cooperation, not control, leads to progress. The room murmured. Many species whispered angrily among themselves. How dare humans speak with such confidence? Others leaned forward, listening intently. There was power in truth and humans spoke it clearly. Adrian continued, "We walked out of the Galactic Assembly not to disrespect anyone, but because silence in the face of injustice is unacceptable. The galaxy faces challenges, conflict, resource scarcity, and fear. We will not sit quietly while rules meant to suppress growth continue to dominate. Humanity seeks a galaxy where ideas are free, where cooperation is voluntary, and where courage is recognized." There was a moment of stunned silence. Some alien delegates looked horrified, others fascinated. The insectoid representatives buzzed angrily, but even they could not ignore the clarity in Adrian's voice. A young journalist from a distant world asked, via translation channel, "Sir, are you not afraid of consequences? Of angering centuries-old powers?" Adrian looked directly into the camera. "Fear is a tool for control. We will not be controlled. Consequences exist everywhere. But we act because it is right, not because it is safe. Humanity does not ask permission to do what is just." Cameras across the galaxy captured every word. The message spread instantly. Humans were not just defiant, they were principled. Their defiance was not born of arrogance, but of courage and moral clarity. The Assembly's leaders tried to respond. Reptilian delegates hissed, insectoid officers buzzed, and some of the older civilizations muttered warnings. Yet Adrian's calm presence, combined with his words, silenced much of the dissent. For the first time, the galaxy saw humans as something more than young, reckless creatures. They were visionaries in their own right. After the speech, Adrian allowed his crew to disperse and speak with other delegates. Humans engaged respectfully, offering insights, sharing technology, and listening intently. They had made their bold statement, not through warships or weapons, but through intelligence and clarity of purpose. That evening, as the horizon drifted above Vatra Prime, Adrian stood on the observation deck, looking at the galaxy's stars. Lyra joined him quietly. "You think they understood?" she asked. Adrian smiled faintly. "Some will resist, some will fear us, but some will understand. And that is enough. Humanity has made its stance clear. We are not followers. We are not subjects. We are equals." That is a bold statement, and the galaxy cannot ignore it. Below them, alien fleets slowly began to retreat, unsure how to proceed. The young species that many had dismissed as insignificant had proven that courage, intelligence, and principle were forces even the most powerful could not ignore. The calm before the storm was over. The storm itself was beginning. Humanity had planted the seed of change, and the galaxy would never be the same. And somewhere across countless worlds, whispers spread. The humans are fearless. The humans are clever. The humans are coming. The Galactic Assembly was in chaos. Weeks of deliberation, arguments, and threats had led to one undeniable truth. Humans were no longer a species that could be ignored. Every delegate had their own opinion, fear, anger, admiration, but none could deny the courage of Adrian Kane and his crew. Inside the enormous chamber, the debate had reached its peak. Alien delegates shouted over one another, pointing claws, limbs, and energy tendrils in accusation. The matter at hand was a rare and powerful energy source on the planet Tessara, a resource coveted by multiple species for centuries. Control of Tessara meant control of trade, power, and influence across several star systems. "Humans are reckless," hissed Zareth the Cold-Eyed, the Reptilian Council leader. "They defy law, tradition, and reason. They must be punished or all order collapses." From the back of the chamber, a low hum grew. Humans, seated calmly in their section, watched silently. Adrian Kane's hands rested on the edge of the central table. His crew mirrored his composure, quiet, precise, ready. There was no anger in their faces, only resolve. Adrian finally stood. The room fell silent, sensing that something monumental was about to happen. "We have listened," he began, his voice steady. "We have considered your rules, your traditions, your fear. Humanity will not follow a path dictated by suspicion or power. We will act with courage, fairness, and intelligence. And if that is unacceptable, we must leave." Whispers rippled through the assembly. Delegates leaned forward, unsure whether to be offended or curious. Some thought this was a bluff, others sensed that Adrian was deadly serious. "Leave?" a high-ranking insectoid officer buzzed. "You dare to walk out in defiance?" "Yes," Adrian said simply. "We dare. We cannot compromise our principles for the sake of appeasing those who value control over progress." Then, without another word, Adrian gestured to his team. The humans rose. One by one they walked toward the exit. The sound of their steps echoed through the enormous chamber like a drumbeat of courage. Gasps filled the room. Cameras captured every movement. Delegates froze, jaws dropping. Some tried to shout, some pointed weapons, but the humans remained calm. Their defiance was not aggressive. It was precise, deliberate, undeniable. The insectoid representative buzzed angrily. "Stop them. This is treason." But no one moved fast enough. The humans reached the massive doors of the assembly chamber. As they passed, their eyes held not hatred, not fear, but a quiet confidence that unsettled every species present. Outside, in the observation galleries and across holographic feeds, the galaxy watched in real time. For the first time, humans were no longer seen as weak or naive. They were fearless. They were principled. They were something entirely new. Adrian paused at the exit, turned and spoke once more. "We do not walk away to flee. We walk away to show that courage and principle are stronger than fear and control. The galaxy must remember this day. Humanity will not be silenced. Humanity will not bow. Humanity will be heard." And then they left. The doors closed behind them. Silence filled the chamber, broken only by murmurs of disbelief and outrage. Delegates from the oldest civilizations looked at each other, stunned. The youngest species in the galaxy had just made a statement louder than any weapon. Humans would not be intimidated. Across the galaxy, reactions were immediate. News feeds, holographic broadcasts, and communication networks exploded with coverage of the event. Some species denounced humans as dangerous, unpredictable, and reckless. Others praised them for bravery, intelligence, and moral clarity. In the weeks that followed, discussions shifted. Political analysts debated the implications. Scholars wrote treatises on the audacity of a species that dared defy an entire assembly. Even those who had criticized humans quietly acknowledged one fact: the balance of power had changed. Back on the horizon, Adrian stood in the observation deck, looking at the stars stretching into infinity. His crew surrounded him, calm but exhilarated. They had done what many said was impossible. They had shown the galaxy that courage and principle could not be ignored. Lyra Chin, her fingers resting lightly on the console, whispered, "Do you think they'll retaliate?" Adrian shook his head slowly. "Some will try. Some will fear us. But no one can undo what we've done today. Humanity has made its stand. We have shown that we are not just another species to be controlled. We are equals and we will act as such." The calm of space seemed to echo their resolve. Outside the ship, stars shimmered with quiet indifference, yet somewhere in the galaxy the ripples of their actions spread. Plans were being changed. Alliances reconsidered. Histories rewritten. Even the most powerful fleets, stationed in strategic points across multiple systems, hesitated. They had been trained to respond to threats, but the humans' audacity, calm, and precision left them uncertain. How could such a young, small species act with such clarity and courage? And so the storm began to gather. The galaxy had been forced to acknowledge humans not just as a participant, but as a force to be reckoned with. Every step the humans took, every word they spoke now carried weight. Adrian knew this was only the beginning. There would be challenges, confrontations, and tests of courage. But humanity had made its choice. They would walk their path with integrity, intelligence, and bravery. The galaxy could watch, judge, and react, but it could no longer ignore them. As the horizon slipped silently through the void, Adrian turned to his crew. "The assembly tried to define us," he said. "They tried to control us. They failed. And now the galaxy will see what humans can do when we decide to lead, not follow." And somewhere across the stars, alien civilizations whispered among themselves, "The humans have walked out. The storm has begun." The galaxy reacts. The walkout had sent shockwaves across the galaxy. From the tiniest mining outpost to the council chambers of ancient civilizations, every species had heard the story. Humans had walked out of the Galactic Assembly. Some called it reckless, some called it brave. But no one could ignore it. News networks and interstellar communications systems buzzed with commentary. "The humans are dangerous," said the reptilian news anchor on Zareth Prime. "They challenge centuries of law and tradition." Meanwhile, on the planet Vetra, the luminous delegates debated quietly. "Perhaps they are not reckless," said one. "Perhaps we have underestimated their intelligence and their courage." Even the insectoid fleets, whose leaders had initially called for immediate retaliation, hesitated. Their analysts reported confusion. They did not strike. They did not flee. They walked with confidence. What does it mean? On the horizon, humans continued their journey. The ship drifted through star systems that few had explored, mapping planets, scanning for life, and quietly demonstrating their abilities. While the galaxy argued, humans acted, showing that bravery combined with intelligence could achieve more than threats or domination ever could. Adrian Kane convened his crew in the strategy room. Holograms of distant systems floated above the table, highlighting planets, trade routes, and political territories. The galaxy reacts, Adrian began. Some with fear, some with anger, and some with curiosity. All are watching. And that is exactly what we want. Humans have spoken, not with weapons but with action. We will continue to do so. Narration looked at the holograms. Sir, some fleets are moving closer to our explored systems. They say it's to monitor us, but it could be intimidation. Adrian nodded. Let them. Fear is predictable. We are not predictable. Our actions, our intelligence, and our courage will speak louder than their fleets. Across the galaxy, the assembly leaders scrambled to respond. Secret meetings were held in orbiting stations, on remote planets, and in hidden starships. Some advocated diplomacy. We must invite humans back, suggested a Vatran diplomat. We must understand them before they inspire rebellion among younger species. Others demanded force. We cannot allow one small species to defy the assembly and survive, argued a reptilian commander. If they are not punished, all species will start to question the council. In between the arguments, observers from independent systems took note. Small, previously ignored species began to see an example in humans. Courage and intelligence mattered more than age or numbers. Stories of the walkout spread like wildfire. Children on distant planets asked, "What would we do if we were humans?" Meanwhile, humans quietly made contact with these smaller civilizations. They offered technology, knowledge, and assistance. They did not demand loyalty or fear. They asked only for cooperation, curiosity, and respect. The contrast with the assembly's politics was striking. Back at the horizon, Adrian addressed his crew. Every species is reacting. Some with hostility, some with admiration. We must remember why we act. It is not to provoke fear, not to dominate, not to seek power. It is to show what humanity can be. Courage, intelligence, fairness. That is our message. And the galaxy listened. Reports came in from explorers, traders, and diplomats. The humans are changing the way we think, one diplomat reported. Not by force but by example. At the same time, whispers of fear circulated among the assembly's most powerful species. Fleet commanders worried about the unpredictability of humanity. Scientists debated whether the young species had developed technology beyond what was thought possible. Historians speculated about the long-term impact of a species that could defy centuries of control with nothing but calm and conviction. Even as political tension grew, humans' reputation among the general population of the galaxy soared. Children, students, and ordinary citizens began to idolize the species that had walked out. Songs, stories, and art celebrated the audacity of humans. On some planets, humans were no longer a curiosity, they were a symbol. Yet not all reactions were positive. Some species, still clinging to fear and control, plotted quietly. The Reptilian Council considered restricting human travel. The insectoids debated blockades. Secret alliances formed, intending to pressure or intimidate humanity into submission. Adrian Kane, however, remained calm. He had expected resistance. He had expected fear. That was always the galaxy's response to change. Let them plot, he said quietly to his crew. Fear and control are predictable. Courage, intelligence, and principle are not. We will continue to show what humanity can do. The horizon continued its journey through uncharted star systems. Humans met species who had never seen outsiders. They shared knowledge, offered help, and learned from others. The galaxy slowly began to understand that these humans were not just brave, they were a species that could lead by example, not by domination. And in every system, the story of the assembly walkout grew. It became legend. Some whispered in fear, others in admiration, and some with curiosity that could not be contained. Humanity had shown that one species, acting with courage and principle, could change the way the galaxy viewed itself. At the observation deck, Adrian looked out at the stars stretching endlessly before him. The galaxy reacts, he said softly. Some will fear us, some will admire us, some will learn from us. But we have made our mark. And this is only the beginning. Across countless worlds, messages of curiosity, debate, and awe echoed. Humanity had planted a seed, and now the galaxy was awakening to it. The calm before the storm had ended. The storm itself, the storm of ideas, courage, and change, was beginning. And somewhere, in secret chambers and distant fleets, a single thought spread like wildfire: humans are not just here. Humans are coming, and the galaxy will never be the same. The new path. The galaxy had been shaken. The assembly walkout, humanity's bold statement of courage and principle, was still the talk of star systems far and wide. Some species feared humans. Others admired them. But all agreed on one thing: humanity was no longer to be underestimated. On the horizon, Adrian Kane stood on the observation deck, watching distant suns shimmer through the vast darkness. Behind him, his crew moved silently, preparing for another journey, another mission to explore, learn, and establish connections across the galaxy. "Our path is clear," Adrian said softly. "We do not seek power. We do not seek to dominate. We seek to build a future where courage, intelligence, and fairness guide our actions. That is the human way." Lyra Chen, seated at the communications console, nodded. "Sir, we've received requests for contact from several smaller civilizations. Many of them have been ignored by the Assembly for decades. They want to meet us to learn from humans." Adrian smiled faintly. "Then we will go. We will show the galaxy that humanity acts not out of fear or desire for control, but out of principle. Let them see what it means to work together, honestly and fairly." The horizon set course for a cluster of previously isolated planets. As the ship approached, alien observers watched cautiously. Fleets shadowed the humans, some to monitor, others to intimidate. But Adrian and his crew remained calm. They had learned long ago that fear and aggression were predictable. Courage and intelligence were not. On the first planet, the humans were greeted with awe. The inhabitants, a species of luminous beings called the Vatrans, had never interacted with outsiders. Humans approached carefully, showing respect and curiosity. Adrian addressed the Vatran Council. "We come in peace," he said. "We wish to learn from you and we hope to share what we know. Humanity believes that every species has value and deserves respect." The Vatrans were cautious but intrigued. They had expected arrogance or coercion, but found only humility paired with boldness. Within days, humans and Vatrans exchanged ideas, sharing knowledge about energy, technology, and exploration. The Vatrans, once isolated, began to see the galaxy differently. Meanwhile, news of human diplomacy spread. Other species began sending envoys, not to challenge or control, but to learn. The contrast with the Assembly's politics was striking. Humans acted openly, honestly, and with clarity of purpose. Their reputation grew not through force but through action. Adrian convened his crew in the strategy room. Holographic maps showed new worlds, trade routes, and potential alliances. "The galaxy is watching," he said. "Some will still resist us. Some will plot against us. But the new path we are forging is not about confrontation. It is about demonstrating what humanity can achieve with courage, intelligence, and fairness. Every action, every contact, every decision must reflect that principle." Lyra added, "Sir, some of the Assembly's fleets are shadowing our path. They haven't acted aggressively yet, but they are observing." "That is to be expected," Adrian replied calmly. "Let them watch. Humanity will never act out of fear. We act with purpose. That is our greatest strength." The humans continued their journey, visiting multiple planets and forging alliances with species long overlooked by the Assembly. Each encounter reinforced a simple truth: respect, courage, and intelligence could accomplish more than intimidation or coercion ever could. On a remote mining planet, humans helped resolve disputes among factions that had fought for decades. On a desert world, they shared knowledge about sustainable energy sources, saving countless lives. Everywhere they went, humans inspired hope, curiosity, and admiration. Back on the horizon, Adrian spoke quietly to his crew one evening. "Every species we meet, every alliance we form changes the galaxy. The Assembly may try to control or manipulate, but humanity has shown a new way. We do not seek dominance. We do not seek fear. We seek progress, courage, and fairness. That is the new path." The galaxy began to take notice. Small civilizations, previously ignored or oppressed, started to act differently. They formed councils, shared knowledge, and reached out to humans willingly. Even powerful species that had opposed humanity began to consider collaboration, realizing that cooperation with humans might bring unexpected benefits. Yet resistance remained. Some factions in the Assembly plotted quietly, worried that humans would inspire rebellion. Others underestimated the humans, believing their actions were reckless and temporary. But the more humans demonstrated intelligence and principle, the more the galaxy began to change. One evening, Adrian stood on the observation deck, gazing at a cluster of stars. The assembly tried to define us, he said softly. They tried to limit us. But we have shown that courage and principle cannot be controlled. The galaxy is starting to understand. And this is only the beginning. Lyra watched him silently. Do you think the galaxy will ever fully accept us? Adrian's gaze did not waver. Acceptance is not the goal. Understanding is. Respect is. We have started a path that others can choose to follow. Some will resist. Some will learn. But humanity has shown the way forward. As the horizon drifted into the deep expanse of the galaxy, alien civilizations began to change their approach. Stories of human diplomacy and courage spread, inspiring a new generation of leaders, thinkers, and explorers. The calm that had once preceded the storm was over. The storm itself, of ideas, courage, and transformation, was growing stronger. And somewhere in the halls of the assembly, whispers spread. The humans are not just explorers. They are teachers. They are leaders. And they are changing the galaxy. Humanity had chosen its path. It was a path of courage, intelligence, and principle. A path that would challenge the old ways, inspire the young, and shape the galaxy for generations to come. The legacy of courage. The galaxy had changed. What began as a single bold act, the human walkout from the Galactic Assembly, had grown into something far greater. Humanity was no longer the quiet, underestimated species that many had dismissed. They had proven, through courage, intelligence, and principle, that even a young species could leave a mark on the universe. On the horizon, Adrian Kane looked out at the stars. Each one seemed to sparkle a little brighter now, reflecting the growing influence of humans across the galaxy. We have come far, he said quietly. But the journey is not over. Our actions have inspired others. Now, we must ensure that courage and fairness continue to guide humanity and the galaxy. The crew had changed too. They were no longer just explorers or diplomats, they were symbols. Every human aboard the horizon carried the weight of a legacy they had helped create. Each action they took, each decision they made, reflected not only themselves but the entire species. Across countless worlds, humans were remembered not as conquerors but as pioneers of courage. Young species that had once been ignored or oppressed began to look to humans as examples. Leaders and scholars debated the meaning of humanity's rise. Was it defiance? Was it wisdom? Or was it something more profound? A demonstration that courage, intelligence, and principle could shape the future of the galaxy? Even the oldest and most powerful civilizations had taken notice. Fleets once prepared to intimidate humans hesitated now. Scholars and historians began to write of the Age of Courage, marking humanity's influence as a turning point in galactic history. For the first time, it seemed that one small species could inspire hope, curiosity, and change on a universal scale. On Vatra Prime, a gathering of alien leaders convened to discuss humans. They do not seek control, one elder said. They do not act out of fear or greed. They are shaping the galaxy through courage, intelligence, and principle. Perhaps we have misunderstood what power truly means. Meanwhile, humans continued their journey of exploration and diplomacy. They forged alliances with distant civilizations, helped rebuild worlds affected by conflict, and shared knowledge with those who had been overlooked for centuries. Their path was not one of domination but of guidance. They acted as examples, showing that strength combined with wisdom could transform lives and societies. On one remote mining planet, humans helped a fractured colony unify. On a desert world, they shared sustainable energy technologies that transformed barren lands into thriving habitats. On countless systems, humans inspired hope, curiosity, and cooperation. The galaxy began to see them not just as explorers but as teachers, leaders, and pioneers. Adrian Kane often reflected on the journey. The walkout had been just the beginning, a symbolic act of courage and principle. The real challenge had been proving, through action, that humans could live up to the ideals they had declared. And they had. Every planet visited, every life touched, every alliance formed was proof of humanity's unique spirit. One evening, as the horizon drifted through a nebula of shifting colors and sparkling gas, Adrian spoke to his crew. We have shown the galaxy what humans can do. But remember, this is only the beginning. Courage is not a one-time act. It is a path, a choice we make every day. And as long as we continue to act with principle, the galaxy will continue to learn from us. Lyra nodded. Sir, do you think the galaxy will ever fully understand humans? Adrian smiled. Perhaps not. But understanding is not the goal. Respect, courage, and influence, that is enough. Humanity has begun a legacy, and legacies are not about being understood. They are about inspiring others to act with the same principles. As decades passed, humanity's influence grew. The assembly, once rigid and controlling, slowly adapted. Laws and rules were reconsidered. Young species, inspired by humans, demanded fairness and representation. Conflict was not erased, but dialogue, courage, and intelligence became respected tools in galactic politics. Humans became legends. Statues, art, and stories celebrated their courage. Songs told of the walkout, of the first contact missions, of the deserts transformed into thriving worlds. Across the galaxy, humans were remembered not for conquest, but for demonstrating the power of principle, bravery, and wisdom. On the horizon, Adrian Kane watched a cluster of stars, thinking of Earth, the small blue planet where it all began. Humanity had left their home world centuries ago, yet the lessons they carried with them, courage, intelligence, and principle, had shaped the destiny of countless civilizations. The galaxy had learned that being young did not mean being weak. Being small did not mean being powerless. Humanity had proven that one species, guided by courage and principle, could inspire change across an entire galaxy. And so, the legacy of humanity endured. Generations would come to remember the walkout, the bold actions, the courage, and the wisdom. The galaxy would never forget the lesson humans had taught, that even the youngest species with courage in their hearts and intelligence in their minds, could shape the stars themselves. Adrian turned to his crew, his voice calm but full of resolve. The galaxy watches, listens, and learns. Our work is not done. But our legacy has begun. And as long as humans choose courage over fear, principle over submission, and intelligence over ignorance, our story will continue, across every star, every planet, and every civilization. The galaxy will remember us. Outside the ship, stars stretched infinitely, glittering with the promise of countless worlds. And somewhere, across the endless reaches of space, the message was clear: humanity had arrived and their legacy of courage would echo through the galaxy for all time. The calm had passed. The storm had come, and humanity had become its shining heart.